Wicked is about to come out, and there's definitely no controversy surrounding one of the actors. So before it comes out, let's talk about other Oz-related films that are not as successful as Wicked. So Disney had the rights to make Oz films, and Walt Disney wanted to make like a live action musical spectacular, like Mary Poppins and such. But it was canceled by Walt because he didn't think it was all coming out right. And then, so the rights to Oz, it just kind of sat on the shelf at Disney until a man called Walter Murch stepped in. Walter Murch, he's a famous editor and sound guy, and he got his start working with Francis Ford Coppola for his American Zoetrope company when they made The Rain Man in the Rain People in 1969, when they were just like, when American Zoetrope was this company of like, Coppola and Lucas just driving around filming things in a van. He was one of those people. He would, do sound for the whole Godfather trilogy, which is why I have the Blu-rays right there. And then he would also co-write THX 1138 with George Lucas. And then he would, he pitched Disney this idea for a somewhat reboot sequel to, the Wizard of Oz story that injected stories from like Land of Oz, Ozma of Oz, and like TikTok of Oz. But by that, they just took the character of TikTok and put him in this movie.
I am TikTok, the Royal Army of Oz.
He co-wrote this movie with Gil Dennis, who co-wrote Walk the Line with James Mangold, and that's the only big credit that I found from his filmography. Return to Oz. It came out 1984. It bombed, and it scared a lot of people. What are your thoughts on Return to Oz?
I mean, I think it's a good movie. It's definitely isn't perfect, but it's a good adaptation.
Yeah, it's very different from the original 1939 movie, and you kind of have to not really think that it is, like a part of that world, because it's adapting from the books.
Yeah, it's a lot darker.
Right off the bat, it is just it's a very miserable, because it's just like Aunt May and Uncle Henry they think that Dorothy is mentally disturbed, and like they're very different from how they are in the 39 film. Uncle Henry is not this like quirky guy.
Me, she bit you?
No, her dog.
Oh, she bit her dog, eh?
And Aunt May it just wants to put Dorothy in a mental institute where her daughter gets shock therapy. And then it gets even disturbing from there when she goes to the mental institute. But then she goes to Oz, and it's not even like in the original how when she gets to Oz, everything is now so back to being colorful and lovely. It's still very miserable.
It's just a yellow brick.
No, Belina, you don't understand. This was the Yellow Brick Road.
You'll share with Dorothy Gale the shock of finding everything mysteriously changed.
What's happened to everybody?
Frieza Balk plays Dorothy. Around the appropriate age Dorothy kind of should be, unlike Judy Garland being like a teenager. She's actually she's really good in this movie. I don't know if it's it's a little different from Garland's performance.
Yeah, convincing for a child actor.
Yeah, she's really good, and she took off just kind of like Judy Garland. Became a bit of a working actress. Luckily, she's still alive. She would go on to be in stuff like The Craft, American History X, Things to Do in Denver While You're Dead, and Almost Famous. She's really good in this movie. there's a lot of like actors in this who are like, you know, puppeteers, and people like who were, you know, from like Henson Company, like people who worked, you know, before they worked on Dark Crystal and then later worked on Labyrinth. I don't know if you've ever seen any of those movies.
No.
I haven't seen those two movies.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a
they're
very like handmade feel. Everything kind of feels practical and like you could be in this world.
Yeah, it's like very different. It's got that like. I was gonna also, you know, like compare it to like, you know, fantasy films. Like, you know, you got like the Never-Ending Story that came out the year before, which also has like a lot of dark scenes.
Yeah.
And then you have like the movie Legend, which came out the same year and also bombed bad.
Yeah, definitely kind of has the same vibes as those two movies.
Yeah, and a lot of these like, yeah, because like a lot of these like fantasy movies that were coming out in the 80s, it's like besides Never-Ending Story and like Conan, they all kind of like didn't do so well. This is like up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a lot of like puppeteers in this movie. You know, you have like Brian Henson as Jack Pumpkinhead. You have like Sean Barrett, who was Admiral Akbar in Return of the Jedi, and then, you know, the kind of the sequel trilogy, and, you know, Star Wars, and you know, there's TikTok in this. So, you know, there's like, you know, like I said with George Lucas, there's connections to, you know, even like Star Wars. This is a weird one though. So the people who puppeteered the Gump character, you know, the Gump is like a couch with like a moose's head that flies. It's puppeteered by Stephen Norrington. You know who that is?
No.
He directed Blade, the first one. And then the voice of the Gump, Lyle Conway, would also be in Blade. So there's
kind of a weird coincidence.
Weird connect. Yeah. I mean, I think they were good friends from this movie, and so it's like a weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a weird like connection between this movie and the Wesley Snipes film Blade. And then you know, and also then another notable actor is Deep Roy, you know, from Never-Ending Story. Is like, he doesn't speak, but he was like in the Tin Man costume.
Yeah,
like,
I've seen him in like other, you know, movies, Star Wars, some other stuff.
He's famously he's you know, the Oompa Loompas in Charlie Chocolate Factory. That's what he's probably better known for.
Probably.
Because he had the more like FaceTime in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Return to Oz is like, it's a very darker movie. Like I said, like, you know, I said before, it's very different from how, like, you know, the original starts off very like colorful when Dorothy goes to Oz, and this, like, it's just very depressing because, you know, the scariest parts, I think the two big ones is like the Wheelers.
Yeah, those were pretty creepy.
Yeah, they just come out and it's like, you know, scarier than the flying monkeys.
Way scarier.
And then like it's just even topped because then right away she goes to this like castle where there is a you know, the queen with all the multiple heads.
Yeah.
And the queen, we need to mention, is like in the real world in Kansas is like the nurse at the mental institute who's like, you know, trying to. So it's like there are kind of themes in this movie that are about, like, I think you know, like childhood fears of like adults.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything to like think about, you know, like, do you have anything about that, would you say?
I mean, yeah, it's just kind of like these, you know, real world like parallels on how, you know, some children are afraid of doctors and hospitals, and you kind of see that play into the movie.
Yeah, because like, and also then like the main villain of the movie is the Gnome King, who wants to like you know, like take over, wants, you know, trying to rule Oz, and is in the real world is the doctor who is trying to like give Dorothy shock treatment.
He's a pretty cool villain, you know. He didn't have a lot of screen time, but he was a pretty cool character.
Yeah, they kind of do the same thing, kind of like in Legend. They don't really show the bad guy until the very end.
Same thing with this.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, there's a lot of cool stop motion effects that I think are, you know, they're really cool. Like how they go back and forth about how like the Gnome King, you know, like transforms, and there's a lot, and you get a lot more like just like lore of Oz, you know, with the character of Ozma, who was meant to be like the true ruler of Oz, not the wizard who was not a wizard.
Yeah.
You know, all that was like interesting how it like kind of it opens like the world more.
Yeah, you get like this different take on it, but it almost kind of feels Mad Max-ish in the beginning with this, you know, wasteland or whatever. So
a lot. Yeah, kind of also reminded me of what they did with Alice in Wonderland by Tim Burton. With that was kind of like
like how she was returning back to Wonderland. Yeah.
But like another thing is like I you know to mention is that like it's like another thing that kind of like shows how this is not even connected to the movie is that like there's a lot of continuity stuff that doesn't line up. Because like so in Wizard of Oz it's set up that the Tin Man was like created by a man, a tinker, but in this movie they go I think like how it is in the book where like the Tin Man was like cursed to like just like chop off himself and become more tin. And then like another thing is there's like an eternal desert, and like once Dorothy like gets to Oz, she acts like she knows what it is, even though you know like in the movie in 39 film there never was. So that kind of like shows how this is really just a sequel to the book. But it kind of like the original film. But like you know it kind of reminds me like you know this way that they did it. It kind of reminds me of like you know recent like comic book reboots like you know like the Batman with by Matt Reeves. How like you know Reeves knows. Everyone knows that you know how Bruce Wayne became Batman, and you know we didn't really need to see the origin again.
You know it's year 2 for Batman. It's not a complete you know origin story. So
and the same thing with Return to Oz. Everyone knows that you know Dorothy went to Oz, met all these met these like these strange unique characters and killed the Wicked Witch. We all know that, so you know it was just smart to just like tell another story in Oz. But it's still interesting to kind of like think though, because like you know there is a lot of books, you know, by L Frank Baum, and then like from his like you know his descendants kept making other you know stories. You know it does make you think like you know what if they do try to make a you know try to do Wizard of Oz again, but like you know like a more faithful adaptation to the book.
I mean, I would certainly like to see that. I don't know if it's gonna happen anytime soon.
Like, and you gotta like give it the Francis Ford Coppola treatment. You just call it L Frank Baum's the Wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Long title, but you gotta do it. You know?
To like as a way to like show, hey, this ain't the original 39 movie. But yeah, like as I said, I think I like Return to Oz as this like movie that you know gives you a lot of like different like feelings overall. You know, it's just you know, and the technical aspects are really great. This did get nominated for Best Visual Effects, believe it or not. As much as this movie is kind of like very disowned by Disney. And like you know, people at the time disowned it.
Seems like it's almost forgotten. Not too many people really remember it.
I will say it is strange though that Disney does have this on Disney Plus. They haven't really like. Well, look, when it comes to like physical media, this isn't really something that they like to like put out a lot. Like they put on DVD and it like runs out of print. Like it got like a Blu-ray release, but like I think you know ran out of print. I think Disney's done doing 4K releases.
Probably, I think so. They're probably just gonna stick with you know streaming now.
No, like 4K Ultra overall, or no, they still release.
Discs, but you're talking like you know the higher quality or whatever.
Like, overall, this movie still hasn't even gotten like a proper like touch up.
You know.
But like it's on Disney Plus still. It's not like unlike other Disney movies like Song of the South or Midnight Madness. They really just don't want anyone to ever see that.
You can't show those today. They're, you know, very, you know, inappropriate for modern times. Outdated.
But no, like Return to Oz, like it has a very cult following to it. Like to a point where I feel like people think they're cool though when they say, "Oh, Return to Oz." I like Return to Oz better than the 39 movie. I like Return to Oz better than Oz the Great and Powerful. And I will admit, We'll talk about. I'll talk about this movie later, but yeah, I mean, I do think outside of like the original movie, this isn't. It's a good. I think it's just a really good like movie to have. That like has Oz content. It's just, and it would be interesting to put this on after the 39 movie, despite a lot of its loose continuity. But yeah, overall, just really good movie. Good music. Because like even the music is very like not like the Wizard of Oz soundtrack.
It's darker, more whimsical. Yeah, just very 80s is what I'll say.
And not synth.
Not synth,
but like classic John Williams.
Exactly, like that. Yeah.
But I will say though, the one thing that Disney just like they were like, well, we kind of have to have this part, and that was the ruby slippers, because in the book it's the silver slippers, which they changed to ruby, and the Wizard of Oz for the Technicolor stuff.
I mean, they became so iconic, you kind of had to keep them.
It was like because then people would then you just have audiences being like because like first they're saying the lion, the Tin Man, all like covered in stone, and they're just going to be even more depressed. Like, why is our shoes silver?
Yeah.
Any last things to say about Return to Oz?
I mean, yeah, definitely check it out, watch it. I mean, want to mention that like I definitely get some kind of Tim Burton feel with it. Obviously, he didn't make it, but like I can kind of see him, making something similar to this. So.
He was inspired by the Jack Pumpkinhead design for Jack Skellington.
Yeah, just Jack Skellington. So
I like the movie too. I would definitely recommend go watch it if interested.